Today's lesson is finding the perfect fit. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
And I'm Mike.
And in today's program, we're going to be shopping for some sneakers, which are basically shoes you can use to play sports in, or they're casual shoes if you don't have a formal job or something. I suppose you could even wear them to school or whatever. We call them sneakers in North America. I think they call them trainers in the UK. And when I grew up, we called them tennis shoes, even though we didn't use them to play tennis with.
There you go. Running shoes is also another common one, and that can, yes, cover a lot of different things. But of course now, with the expansion of sort of the athletic wear, you know, people wear gym clothes out of the gym. We have very specialized shoes, so you can definitely buy, you know, running shoes that are made for running, basketball shoes. They have sort of those cross-training shoes, all sorts of types. And to add another layer of complication, which we will actually get into in our dialogue, when we're measuring the size of your foot and also choosing the size of your shoe, because of course everyone's feet are slightly different sizes, there are different systems around the world. They have different systems in the UK, Europe, North America, and so these are things that you need to be aware of often in the store. Even on the box, they often have a way to convert your size from the US version to the European version.
It seems like there's 4 of them or whatever on those boxes.
So there's always ways to do it, but these are definitely things to be aware of. And if you walk into a shoe store, say in Rome, and ask for your North American size, they might look at you and say, wow, your feet are really, really small or really, really big, because of course they're using different systems of measurement. But we're going to get into all of that with our friends Kevin and Amy as they go sneaker shopping in, the Big Apple, New York City. Let's check out the dialogue, then we'll come back to talk about it. Finding the perfect fit. Shopping for sneakers. Taiwanese tourists Kevin and Amy enter a sneaker store in New York.
Welcome! How can I help you today?
We're looking for basketball shoes and running shoes, but we're not quite sure how Taiwan sizes convert to US sizes.
Got it. What sizes do you usually wear?
I wear size 24 and he wears 26.5.
That's about a women's 7 and men's 8. Let me measure your feet to be sure. Actually, you should both get half a size up, 7.5 and 8.5.
That's good to know. I'm looking for high-top basketball shoes with good ankle support and traction.
I have a great option here. It provides excellent ankle protection and comes in an all-white design that's super popular.
That sounds perfect. I like lighter colors.
Here's the 7.5 in white. Give them a try.
These feel great. Really comfortable. I'll take them.
大家好，第一部分介绍动词 convert， 意思是使转换或是改变。例如 You can use solar panels on your roof to convert sunlight into electricity. 你可以用你屋顶上的太阳能板把阳光转化为电力。或者 Jenny converted her Taiwan dollars into euros in preparation for her trip to Italy. Jenny 把她的台币换成欧元，准备去意大利玩。继续看到名词 traction， 表示抓地力，也可以是轮胎与地面之间的摩擦附着力。例如 Without proper traction, vehicles can easily spin out of control. 没有良好的抓地力，车辆很容易失控打滑。或是 These snow tires are specially designed to have superior traction during the winter months. 这些雪胎经特殊设计，在冬季月份有较佳的摩擦力。
Okay, so we're finding the perfect fit. We're trying to find clothes, or in this case, shoes, that fit our feet most comfortably. They're not too big or they're not too small. They're not too tight. They just feel great. They feel fine. And here's part 1. We're shopping for sneakers. Again, as we say, that's 球鞋, as you call them in Chinese, sneakers, trainers, or whatever. And we've got some tourists from Taiwan. We've got Kevin and Amy, and they enter a sneaker store in New York. I assume this is New York City, not New York State, like Buffalo or places like that.
Although they do have shoe stores in Binghamton Boston and Albany and Buffalo, definitely. Sure. As tourists, they're more likely to be in New York City. But no matter where they are, yes, they're shopping for sneakers in New York. And let's see how it all goes. Well, first we have the store clerk who welcomes them by saying, "Welcome, how can I help you today?" A pretty standard greeting for when you walk into a store. If there's a clerk, if there's a store worker there who's not busy, they will greet you and, ask you if you need any help. In this case, you can often just say, "No thanks, I'm just browsing. So I'm just looking around." It's a polite way of saying, "No, store clerk, please leave me alone and don't try to help me. I just want to be on my own and do a little bit of light shopping." But in Kevin and Amy's case, they do actually have some specific questions they can get some help with. Kevin says, "We're looking for basketball shoes and running shoes." Okay, yes, two different styles and designs of sports shoes. And then he adds, "But we're not quite sure how Taiwan sizes convert to US sizes." Good man, Kevin. He is aware of this. He wants to have these different sizes, one converted to the other. When you convert something, or to use the noun form, to do a conversion, you're changing things from one system to another. A common thing tourists will do, of course, is to convert their money. You can't shop in America using our lovely new Taiwan dollars, although you can go to a bank and change those Taiwan dollars into the equivalent money value in American dollars. Another thing you might convert in America, since they use different temperatures when telling the weather, they use Fahrenheit system, so you'll have to convert 70 degrees Fahrenheit as about 19 or 20 degrees Celsius. So that's another thing you convert from one system to another. And he's asking about shoe sizes here.
Right, so they know their Taiwan shoe sizes, but they don't know the American sizes, so they need to do a conversion here. And the clerk says, "Got it, I understand. We've had that situation before. What sizes do you usually wear?" Okay, so what are the sizes you have in Taiwan? I'm sure the clerk is aware of all the different sizes in the world. And the clerk knows how to convert that off the top of his head. He says, "That's about a women's 7 and men's 8, give or take a couple of sizes there. Let me measure your feet to be sure." So they use that little metal plate or whatever. You stick your foot on there and he pulls something up and pulls something to the side and determines your size.
There you go. So they want to have an accurate size. Often with 7s and 8s, that American system, you can go to a half size as well. So if you have a 9.5 size foot or something, that's okay with the system. They might even have shoes in half sizes. And that's kind of the situation here as the store clerk is measuring Amy's feet, or actually both Amy and Kevin. He notices that they can actually boost their size. Their sizes are a little bit bigger than a simple 7 and 8. The clerk says, "Actually, you should both get half a size up, 7.5 and 8.5. Or, of course, we can say 7.5 and 8.5. And yes, that is a half size up, so they'll need slightly larger shoes. I guess sometimes with a 7.5 or an 8.5, Amy might be able to wear a size 8, and Kevin might even be able to wear a size 9 and still have the shoes be fairly comfortable and their feet won't be sliding around. But another thing that happens is I think our feet are different, right? Some people have a right foot that's bigger than a left foot, and who knows, as in the same way that our height might change as we get older, our feet might change in size. And that kind of seems like it was a bit of a surprise for Amy. She says, "That's good to know. It's good to know that I'm actually a 7.5 or a 7.5 and not just a 7. She says, "I'm looking for high-top basketball shoes with good ankle support and traction." Okay, so she's the one in the market for the basketball shoes, and yes, she's looking for something that's fairly standard with basketball shoes, most of them, high-top shoes. We actually used to call basketball shoes, instead of saying they're basketball shoes, we'd say they're high tops, and that means that the top of the shoe doesn't sort of get cut around the bottom of your ankle bone, that little bone that sticks out where your foot meets the bottom of your leg. They actually cover that, giving you ankle support, so you can actually tighten the shoes up around the ankle, and as you twist and turn, because basketball, of course, is a game where you're stopping and starting and changing direction quite quickly, it gives you ankle support. It supports your ankle. It protects your ankle from sort of folding under you and causing an ankle injury, as it might happen if you stop too quickly. And she also wants traction. Traction is holding on to something, especially two surfaces. We often use this word when talking about tires and how cars behave in rain and snow. snow. If you've ever driven in rain or snow, you'll be aware that you have to sort of be careful when you slow down the car or take corners in the car. You have to go at a lower speed because the slippery water and the ice provides less traction. So in the same way, she wants her shoes to kind of stick. That's that squeaking sound you often hear when you're at a basketball court. It's the traction of the shoes as they stick and, yes, allow those players to twist and turn at great speed.
Yep, so those shoes are going to have a certain amount of treads, as we call them, T-R-E-A-D-S. Those are kind of the rubber patterns on the bottom of your shoes.
Or on the tire, too.
On a tire as well, the treads, and they help with traction. So the more treads you have, the better your traction will be. And the clerk says, well, I have a great option here. I've got a good choice for you. It provides excellent ankle protection and comes in an all-white design that's super popular. So, of course, nowadays basketball shoes are quite popular here in Taiwan. Of course, I see a lot of people wearing the Converse All-Star basketball shoes. I don't think actually any NBA players would be caught dead wearing them in a basketball game. I don't think they'd work as well. I think the Air Jordans are probably pretty popular as well, and they have that ankle support as well. So he's giving her an option here. Here's an option or a choice. Yes, indeed, it has excellent ankle protection or ankle support. And it's white. It's a nice white design. People like the white shoes. They don't seem to like the black ones so much. People tend to like the white colors. And, of course, this particular model is quite popular among their customers.
All right. So Amy's listening to all this, and it all meets her requirements. She says, that sounds perfect. That sounds great. Just what I'm looking for. She says, I like lighter colors. Yeah, sometimes, of course, people are wearing these shoes for sports. But if you're wearing them for fashion, you know, lighter colors match. White shoes match with a lot of your different outfits, so it really works for her. So the store clerk finds the right size, brings out a box. Here's the 7.5 or the 7.5 in white. Give them a try. And as usual, you take the shoes out. You might have to put the laces on. You always do that thing where you stand up, kind of walk 5 paces one way, walk 5 paces back the other way, and then say something like, these feel great, right? They're very comfortable. Your foot doesn't really slide. Your toe isn't being squeezed down at the front because they're too small, so they're really comfortable. Sold. She says, I'll take them, meaning these are what I want, and I am prepared to buy them right now. So that was successful so far. We haven't actually gotten Kevin his shoes yet, so that's part 2. Let's check it out now.
Asking for alternative options. The clerk now helps Kevin. These running shoes are incredibly light. Do you have them in my size? Let me check. Unfortunately, we're out of stock for that size. I could order a pair for you, but it would take 3 to 4 days to arrive. That's a shame. We're flying back to Taiwan in just 2 days. In that case, how about this pair? They have excellent cushioning and breathable mesh panels. Nice. They feel really good. Are they waterproof? They're water resistant, fine for light rain and splashes. For heavy rain, you'd need fully waterproof shoes, but those usually aren't as breathable. Cushioning is really important for me, especially for my knees. The shock absorption on these is great, and they're super comfortable. I'll take this pair. Great choice! Just so you know, both pairs come with our 30-day return policy, and that applies to international customers as well.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for helping us.
It was my pleasure.
第二部分看到形容词 alternative， 它的意思是可替代的或是可供选择的。例如 Renewable energy sources provide an alternative solution to traditional fossil fuels. 可再生能源提供一种替代传统化石燃料的解决方案。也可以说 Rosa offered an alternative solution to the problem. Rosa 对这个问题提出了替代的解决方案。另外Alternative 也可以直接当名词，意思是可供选择的事物或是替代品。例如 If the bus is delayed, walking is a good alternative. 如果公车延误，走路是个不错的替代方式。再来介绍形容词 waterproof， 表示完全防水的。我们可以说 Ryan always carried a waterproof jacket in case it rained. Ryan 总是带着一件防水外套，以防下雨。又或者说 This watch is waterproof up to 50 meters, which makes it suitable for diving. 这款手表防水深度可达50公尺，适合潜水使用。往下看到 splash 这个单字，它是名词，表示泼溅的液体或是水花。我们可以说 A splash of paint ruined the clean white wall. 泼出的油漆毁了干净的白墙。或是 If you dive into the water correctly, there won't be a big splash. 如果你正确的潜入水里，不会有很大的水花。另外 splash 也可以当动词，意思是使液体泼溅或是洒出。例如 Nate splashed some water on his face. Nate 泼了一些水在脸上。再看一句 The car splashed the person on the bicycle when it drove by on the wet street. 那部车开过那条湿哒哒的街道时，溅湿了那个骑脚踏車的人。最后介紹形容詞 fantastic， 指的是極好的或是了不起的。舉例來說 Olivia did a fantastic job organizing the event, and everyone had a great time. Olivia 把這場活動辦得非常成功，大家都玩得很開心。又或者說 Gerald has a fantastic idea for a novel, but isn't sure how to get started. Gerald 有個小說的絕佳點子，但不確定要如何寫起。
Okay, so in part 2 of our lesson for today, we are asking for alternative options. Okay, an alternative, of course, is just another choice. Okay, so Kevin is looking for some shoes and maybe he doesn't like the choices they have. Do you have something else that I can try? Do you have any alternatives? And the clerk is now helping Kevin, and Kevin says, these running shoes are incredibly light. Do you have them in my size? So, of course, there are shoes on the wall on display there, and he sees a pair that he likes, or he sees one that he likes. They don't put pairs of shoes on the wall. They just put one there, so you get the idea. And he sees a model that he likes, and these running shoes are really light. Incredibly means they're extremely light. They're unbelievably light. And I guess they don't have them in his size. Do you have them in my size? The clerk says, well, let me check. They'll probably have to go back into the warehouse or the storage room or whatever. But in this case, he's checking the store's system. He's probably looking on the computer.
There you go. The computer knows everything that they have in the stock room. That's in the back. Or sometimes they'll just say, let me check in the back, meaning in the stock room, that sort of warehouse where we keep all the extra stuff. But it's bad news from the computer system. The clerk says, unfortunately, we're out of stock for that size. Yeah, this isn't too uncommon, especially when you're buying a popular brand in a fairly common size. You know, if you're an average sized person, maybe there are more people who share the same shoe size, so they will be out of stock. That means we don't have them right now. It doesn't mean they're discontinued or we don't carry those anymore. It just means right at this moment, this day, at this time, we don't have any in our store. And this is sad news. This is not what the customer, Kevin, wants to hear. That's why the sales clerk says, unfortunately. So a bit of bad luck, right? When something happens and you say, fortunately, that's the good result, right? It could have gone well. It went well because you had some good luck. Here, though, nope, you're having some bad luck. So unfortunately, the bad news is we're out of stock. We don't have any more right now in our store. So what are we going to do about that? Well, the clerk actually has some solutions. He says, I could order a pair for you, but it would take 3 to 4 days to arrive. So we might have one in a central warehouse. If Kevin is going to be in town, and of course being a tourist, that could be a problem. He can still get the shoes in 3 or 4 days. If he lives in New York, it shouldn't be a big problem. He'll just come back to the store. But as a tourist, this could be complicated.
It could be, and Kevin says, yeah, that's a shame. That's terrible. We're flying back to Taiwan in just 2 days.
Unfortunately.
So he doesn't have time for that, and the sales clerk says, well, in that case, how about this pair? So again, the clerk is offering him an alternative. They have excellent cushioning and breathable mesh panels. Okay, so cushioning, of course, just refers to a little bit of padding inside the shoe, so when you're walking, it feels like you're walking on air. It's not like dress shoes, where every time you're walking on the sidewalk, it feels really hard because it doesn't really have any pads or any cushioning. So they should be pretty comfortable and pretty cool because they have the breathable mesh there. The air can kind of flow in and out of the shoe.
That sounds pretty good. So Kevin tries them on. It says trying them on and walking around a bit, doing that little test walk, and he likes what he feels. He says, nice, they feel really good. They feel really comfortable. Are they waterproof? Of course, with those mesh shoes, you're probably probably not going to have the most waterproof shoe. The water will probably get absorbed and soak through that mesh pretty quickly, and that seems to be the case here. The clerk says they're water resistant. What does that exactly mean? Well, we get a good description. Fine for light rain and splashes, but for heavy rain, you'd need fully waterproof shoes, but those usually aren't as breathable. Yes, that is absolutely true. So water resistant means they can stand up to a bit of water, but you can't throw something. If you have a water resistant watch or phone and you get a bit of water on it while you're washing the dishes or washing your hands, that's fine. But if it's waterproof, that means you could go swimming with that watch on. You could go into the ocean with it, that sort of thing. So water resistant just means that a few drops of water shouldn't cause damage, but it doesn't mean it's waterproof and it can be totally soaked with water. So fine for light rain. If you're outside and it rains a bit, your socks won't immediately get wet, but eventually they will. And splashes, if you get a splash of water from the rain or a puddle, that's okay. A splash is a small amount of sort of thrown water. If you drop something in the water, there'll be a splash, like if you throw a rock. If you're walking by a river and you hear a splash, maybe a fish jumped out of the water or something like this. Or kids like to splash each other, maybe with water from a puddle by jumping in it, or in the pool, you kind of push a bunch of water and it goes in a sort of a large drop or a large amount into someone's face. Stop splashing me with water. But of course, if you're in heavy rain, as the clerk says, you'd need fully waterproof shoes, probably made of the typical plastic type material that wraps all the way around your foot. But as the clerk says, those usually aren't as breathable. Your feet will feel warmer and be sweatier. So if you're exercising in a hot place, your feet might get quite hot quite quickly.
And Kevin says, well, cushioning is really important for me. I need those cushions, or I need that cushioning, especially for my knees. I guess he has bad knees. The shock absorption on these is great, and they're super comfortable. I'll take this pair. So shock absorption just means that the shoes are able to absorb bumps and shocks while you're running, so it has lots of cushioning. Shock absorbers, of course, are in your car and in your motorcycle, so the bumps don't hurt so bad. And he's going to take this pair of shoes, and the clerk says, great choice. Just so you know, both pairs come with our 30-day return policy, and that applies to international customers as well. So if you're not satisfied within that 30-day period, you can probably mail them to us for a refund or to get them replaced. And Amy says, that's fantastic. That's wonderful. That's great. Thank you so much for helping us. It was my pleasure. So now they both have new shoes that they can wear back to Taiwan on their flight. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Here comes Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。在课文第一部分的对话里， Kevin 和 Amy 是台湾游客，他们在纽约的一家运动鞋店想要找篮球鞋和慢跑鞋，可是不太确定台湾尺寸要怎么换算成美国尺寸。文中是用动词 convert 来表达换算的语义。那么 convert 这个动词它可以表达使转换、改变或使改变信仰的意思。我们这边来学习它的字首字根。好，看到 VERS 和 VERT 这两个字根，它有转动、翻转或变动的意思。那带有这一类字根的字，大多含有改变原状的语义。在 convert 这个字当中，字首 CON 表示 together 一起，字根 VERT 表示 turn 就是转。那全部一起翻转变动，应该可以联想到 convert 它有改变转变的意思了。好，我们顺便补充两个有这类字根的单字。第一个补充的是 divert 或是念作 divert， 它的字首 di 表示分离或是从什么什么，字根 vert 表示转。那我们可以用转移到旁边来联想到 divert 它有使转向、使改道或转移注意力的意思。第二个补充的是 versatile 或是念作 versatile， 它的字根 VERS 表示转。AT 是来自动词字尾 ATE 表示使或使成为，那么 ILE 是形容词字尾，它表示具有某种能力。所以从这个字根字尾的表面意思来看， versatile 它表示具有转动变动的能力，那也就是具有多变的能力咯。从这个语义再带出那种多才多艺的意思了。 接着 Amy 告诉店员她要找高筒篮球鞋，要有好的脚踝支撑和抓地力。这时候店员推荐了一双很受欢迎的全白设计款，文中是用 comes in an all white design。 那 come in 可以表达有什么样的选择，以什么样的形式来贩售，后面常常会接颜色、尺寸、款式等等。举例来说， The sweater comes in many different colors。 这款毛衣有许多不同颜色可以选。好，那这边也补充几个 come in 的其他用法。首先，它可以表达传来，可能像是消息或资讯传来或被收到的意思。例如 The election results will come in soon。选举结果很快就会传来。那第二个，它可以表达获得第几名，之后常常会接叙述，可能像 first, second 等等。而第三个 come in 可以表达发挥作用，派上用场，这时候常常会用 where somebody or something comes in 来表达某人事物派上用场的地方。举例来说， We need someone to offer a different perspective,And that's where you come in. 我们需要有人提供不同的观点，那这正是你派上用场的地方。好，那以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天单字吧。
Convert. My parents are planning to convert my old bedroom into a home office. Alternative. If Janelle won't be able to meet with us on Friday, we'll need to find an alternative date. Incredibly.Audiences say that the new movie is incredibly exciting from start to finish. Unfortunately, the store closed just a few minutes before we arrived. Splash. The man on the sidewalk was hit by a splash of water as the large truck drove past. Fantastic. Wendell was pleased when the teacher said he did a fantastic job on his
report.Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Roger.
I am Mike.
See you next time.